And thank you, Gaim, for that presentation. Good afternoon and evening, everybody. Yes, Gaim, it's an interesting thought to be pondering upon, and I've heard it. I've heard your findings in this presentation. Louder, yeah? Okay. I'll shout. I've heard this presentation about 5 times now, and twice it was to this is the 5th time. Twice it was predominantly to an audience smaller than this, but pretty much made up of similar make-up young Eritreans, and then twice to policymakers, the last one being in Geneva at a briefing meeting to the UPR that took place a couple of weeks ago. And every time the reaction and the kind of the sense that we end up with is the same: we have got a problem. We have got a very massive Eritrean problem, as reflected by the sheer number of young people fleeing the country and ending up in situations that none of us here, and nobody in this world actually, can ignore. Nobody can ignore what happened in Lampedusa in October, and nobody can ignore what's going on in the Sinai, in the refugee camps across the borders in Ethiopia, in Sudan, and elsewhere. We have got a very Eritrean problem that we need to find a solution for. And your research gives us, as activists, a kind of a tool to present this before policymakers and say, look, this is, and when I say policymakers, I mean Eritrean policymakers as well. This is the problem that we've got. This is the situation. This is the findings. This is the net effect of the National Service. So it gives us a frame a lens through which we should view this. But it's not the only frame. We've also got other Eritrean challenges, and the insecurity at the borders that you kind of mentioned, and also the need to build a robust Eritrean defense force is also a background to this that we need to address. Not conclusively, because we're not policymakers here, but we need to address robustly as well. We need to use opportunities like this and other places to address the issue of the unimplemented demarcation decision, of the situation, the continued insecurities at our border, particularly our border with Ethiopia. Can you may remember in a few years back in Brussels, we tried to do just that. There's a few people here present that were also at that meeting, where we were trying, and we have done it successfully, where we were trying to tell policymakers from both sides of the Atlantic, US policymakers and European Union policymakers, that the border situation and the unimplemented demarcation decision is a very important concern for Eritreans, that the international community continues to not pay perhaps the due attention that it should pay to, and that situation is very passionately argued by many people here, and it's a voice that we need to listen to, and it's a consideration that we need to include in all our discussions regarding the National Service. It is kind of it's the flip side to this, so we need to discuss these issues together, and it is in finding a coherent balance between those two that we will begin to embark on a coherent and solution-focused dialogue amongst Eritreans primarily, and as we speak to policymakers and decision makers in the international community as well. So it's important to maintain the balance between these two decisions. The National Service is there for a purpose. It is important for us to see if it's serving that purpose, if the best way of securing or ensuring that Eritrea's borders are secured is by forcing an entire generation into an endless military service, abusing their rights and denying them the basic right to the kind of life that we all wish for ourselves and for our offspring. If that is indeed maintaining Eritrea's or safeguarding Eritrea's interest, that this is a question that we need to ask and address. the conscripts have told you, and we all agree with that, that national service per se is not a problem to Eritrea. Eritreans have welcomed national service. Eritreans, I mean, if nothing, we know as Eritreans, we know the value of a dedicated perseverance to safeguard national values and sovereignty. We do know that. We're all pleased that we come from that heritage, and we want that maintained at any cost. But forcing an entire generation of young people to bear the burden that where they are forcefully conscripted, where they're kept outside their will, where their labor is extracted off of them without the due payment, is tantamount to modern day slavery, and it needs to be stopped. Eritreans don't need to be enslaved to maintain their national sovereignty. Thank you.
Thanks, about 3 minutes.
It's a 3-minute film. Unfortunately, the audio is not working, but it will work without the audio. We are from the Stop the National Service Slavery campaign, a few colleagues here, and our objective is to appeal to anybody who will listen to us that the national service in Eritrea needs to be reviewed so that it is service and not slavery. So that's basically what we want to highlight.